Yeah, unfortunately the screen of my top performance laptop just broke. It's a huge pity because all the other components are still working. So I'm wondering, could it be possible to hide all the laptop inside the case of an iMac? I don't think so. I never seen something like this online. So let's try it, but first intro. Tutto questo è cominciato da questo. Yeah, unfortunately this happened. The screen of my top performance laptop broke. Even if it's a very expensive computer, it's a machine that allows me to edit 4K videos and to draw 3D files without problems. The screen doesn't have really strong hinges, which means the plastic broke and also the LCD broke. Changing or replacing a screen for this computer can be very expensive, so I need to take it apart and to remove it permanently. Using a screwdriver, I can open apart the plastic to reveal the screws that are inside. And now I'm a bit sad. Yeah, consider that this is a 2000 euro laptop and it's so strange that it broke itself just opening and closing every day. I did everything very carefully in these years, yeah, and it's so strange that it broke. But there's a good news. The motherboard, the graphic card and the processor are still working great, so I want to keep them for this project. I removed this back part of my laptop and now what I have to do is remove the metal hinges to reveal the flat cable that is connected to the screen. So I can apply some lever force on the hinges, remove the screws, and this goes away. The flat cable is connected directly on the motherboard. Make sure don't touch with metal parts the motherboard, otherwise you risk to have a short circuit. Remove the parts and now finally the screen is taken away. Now we need to modify a little thing. I'm talking about this little push button, which is the button to turn on and off the laptop. I need to have extension cables, so external cables to turn on and off this laptop, and this is the only modification I need to do to my computer. Okay, the laptop is over there, and now let's talk about the case. I want to put and hide all the computer, all the laptop inside the case of an iMac. I choose the iMac because I will use this computer in this shop, which is a mess. There's dust everywhere, and I will move the computer around. There's the CNC over there. I will go underground. I will use it here for live streaming. There's dust everywhere. So the first characteristic has to be dust proof. The iMac is all rounded and also doesn't have holes on the top, so all the dust will fall out like rain, which is a nice thing. The other two characteristics has to be very lightweight and can survive even if I hit it, because it's made in aluminum, which is great. So let's get started, and even if it seems easy, consider that nobody has ever made a project like this, so maybe there's something that I have to solve inside the iMac case. We will see. Let's get started. Okay, I just bought this 27-inch iMac. It was a very good idea because it was a broken one. I mean, the motherboard is broken, but all the other circuits are still working. And the most important thing is the LCD. It's perfectly working and I have to take it apart. I can apply some lever force just using my nails on the corners, on the top, or on the left or on the right. I can then remove the front glass and put it carefully away, remove 4 screws and remove the LCD as well. Before taking it apart, I have to make sure to disconnect 2 little flat cables that connect everything to the graphic card and to the motherboard. So now I can take away the LCD screen. It's very fragile, I don't want to scratch it or cover it with dust, so let me bring it in another room. Now what I have to do is remove everything from the iMac, and when I say everything, I mean everything. I just have to keep two little things that are the speakers. The speakers not only can be reused in this project, but also work as a stand for the LCD. Without them, the LCD panel will fall inside the iMac and is not possible anymore to install it back. So consider this when you buy an iMac that is self-use. Make sure there are still speakers in it. Remove the motherboard, and I will try to sell instead all the other components to cash back all the money I spent to buy this 50 euro iMac. Remove all the cables, and now what I have to do is study the part, because there's this huge block here in the middle that is very big. This can be the thing that block other YouTubers to install a computer, a full laptop inside an iMac, because this takes so much space inside the iMac, and really it's impossible to install a computer inside. What I have to do is think a way to remove it. Now the iMac is so lightweight, adding the laptop will be great. I can still carry the iMac around without problems. But first I need to solve the problem of the stand. This part is stick so much inside that doesn't allow me to insert the laptop. I don't want to use strange method, I don't want to use a welding machine or my lathe to build myself complicated parts so you that you are at home cannot replicate the project. So I want to use very simple things. 2 screwdrivers are enough to remove the plastic part that is glued in place. I can apply some lever force, and taking my time, I go all around the plastic. After this, I can take a screwdriver with the Torx point and remove all the little screws that hold the stainless steel part to the aluminum part. Now I mount everything on the side so we can see and study better how the stand works. There are 2 very big springs that keep the weight of the iMac is perfectly balanced. So I think the best solution is to mount this stand outwards. There are 2 problems: placing it perfectly centered and also marking all the holes I need to have. So lucky for us, the plastic we removed earlier is perfect. There are already plastic spacers and we can use these to mark all the holes in a perfect position. So I can flip backwards the iMac, and now I can make sure that the plastic is perfectly centered, stick some paper tape, and now using a hammer and a point I can mark all the holes. Repeat this process with all 8 parts and we end up to have the perfect position of all the holes. So I can take a drill with a drill point for metal and drill through. So the job is done, perfectly centered. I know it doesn't really seem so, but I guarantee you it's perfectly centered. I can take some bolts and nuts and secure everything on the back of the iMac, inserting them all the way through. And now we need to take some spacers. In this case, I thought that the plastic is perfect for this, because you can see that there are 8 of these little plastic spacers. I need to remove them from all the other plastic part. I can use this vibrating saw to do this. To cut plastic, I remember you can also use some very hot metal and remove the plastic without problems. So after cleaning up, this is the result. We have 8 little pins that are perfect height for placing a spacer on the back. This is crucial, otherwise the stand will not align properly with the aluminum of the iMac. So this is the first thing we need to do, and then take the base of the iMac and make sure to place it in the right orientation, and yeah, pass all the little screws on the back. 8 little nuts will secure everything. Yeah, it's working. I can see that nothing is touching, and yeah, the weight is well supported. In any case, you can adjust these screws, these big nuts. I can adjust them and make sure that it's perfectly regulated to balance the weight of the screen. Now what I have to do is remove all the little stainless steel pins that are inside the iMac. These are the parts where originally the motherboard was mounted, but in this case aren't really anymore necessary, so I can cut them away using a grinder or maybe a metal saw, and yeah, now there's much more space inside. I can see there are also some venting holes, so mounting the laptop here in the middle I think is the best solution. My laptop in this case is 19mm thick, and I'm not really sure if the original LCD of the iMac will fit with this, but we will see. I can use some wood blocks and some very good quality glue to secure everything in place, and later I will also add some little wood screws and brackets to hold it in place. I decided to mount all the laptop without taking it apart and mount only the motherboard into the iMac, just because one day I will travel and bring with me the laptop this way. But now let's talk about the LCD. Once we took it apart, we need to make sure about one thing: this serial code. This is very important because it changes every year, and you can search online for an LCD circuit board that is compatible with the iMac. In this case I bought this very cheap, was $29. You find a link here on the bottom in the links, and I can use this to interface the original LCD screen with any video source that has an HDMI cable. So I can connect all the cables to the laptop, because once it's installed in the middle of the iMac, all the ports that are on the side of my laptop aren't anymore accessible. So the solution to be accessible is to buy some extension cords. I bought 2 of these USB 3.0 cables, one USB-C extension, and also a couple of these jacks audio extension cables. I can mark some holes on the bottom and just make them larger enough to make sure that the USB ports fit inside. To do this I use a metal file and cut everything perfect. I mount everything, so all the cables are ready. I need just to make sure to fit the laptop inside. You can see now that I added also some wood brackets, and all the cables are perfectly installed. I decided to use this instead of the original ones because there isn't enough space to mount them. Now what I have to do is to clean the turn on button that is all covered with sperm, because I bought it used. This isn't really important for me, but it's important to use the 2 original copper cables that are on the back, because this is the only way that I can turn on my laptop. So I remember we modified the original push button of the laptop. We can connect the switches together. I clean the push button and continue the project. And now the moment of the truth. We will see if the LCD screen fits inside, even if there's so much space taken from my laptop. It seems so, but continue the project. I installed 2 handles on the side. I will explain you later the reason of this modification. And you can see now from this shot that the LCD panel is perfectly aligned with the iMac, just as it was at the beginning. I can install then the protective glass here that is held with magnets all around, and here we are. I also modified the little buttons that control the brightness and the contrast of the screen inside some cherry wood block here on the bottom with some glue.
Perfetto. Come lo metti sta? Stavo avendo un infarto, non si vedeva più niente. finally, here it is. It's working. And the resolution is very high. You can see that all the icons has changed. Also the resolution of the screen has changed because the little circuit board communicates with the laptop that is inside and tells the original resolution of the iMac. So the HDMI cable transmits the right resolution for this screen. So that's amazing, and the most amazing thing is that now the iMac, the PC, is turned on like 2 hours and is not even hot. It's kind of warm here on the back, but there is a good air ventilation because on the bottom part there are a lot of holes, and on the top there is this huge cut on the aluminum that helps the hot air goes out. So it's perfect for this purpose. So everything is working properly, and maybe now you are wondering why I place handles on the computer. The reason is very simple, because I will use this computer to transmit live streaming. Here my shop is very big, so I have to move the computer around in my shop very easy, and the handles are made for this purpose. Consider also that inside the iMac there are still the original batteries of the laptop, which means even if I disconnect the plugs from the electricity, it doesn't turn off the computer, and I can still move it around the shop and the live stream doesn't stop. So that's amazing, really. I think that this can give a lot of inspiration to you, because I never seen somebody make such a modification to the iMac. So yeah, that's simple. Maybe one thing that was stopping people was the hinges inside the iMac that took so much space, but placing them on the outside and was genius, I think. And I decided also to don't use strange things like welding machine or other difficult components I have in here in my shop, and use instead very simple things so you can replicate the project as well. And yeah, maybe now you think that it's ugly to see the hinges with the bolts on the back, but yeah, I can solve the thing placing a round aluminum thing, or maybe a wood part, something that is a design thing. And I still have to add other components like an amplifier for the speakers and other things, but this will be another episode. So at this point, if you enjoyed this video, please think about leaving a thumbs up. That is very appreciated. And if you want to see other projects, you see my previous video here. See you next week with another do-it-yourself tutorial. Ciao, ciao.